In the previous lesson, we started to set up our scene in RHINO for interior and also for modular design like this kitchen here, which is based on a module, which is 60 by 60 centimeters. And so we set up the grid and we just copy and multiply the single module to create some modular design. So in this video, I want to show you how, again, you can draw in 2D so we can create some code. And we have two options, essentially. We have the possibility to start from zero without any reference and just create our design on the fly, or we can use a reference, an image reference. We can import it and we can use it, and we need to resize it correctly. We need to put this in the correct size, otherwise it won't be good. So we need to understand also how to measure things and also create some annotations that will help us to understand better the spaces that we have at our disposal. And so we're going to continue with these really basic things, but if you have problems, there is RHINO video course for you to learn the basics. So let's get started. And I want to continue with a little bit of furniture design. Now, if you see the grid right now in this setting, the grid is 1 meter. So let's assume I want to use another type of grid, again, for modular design. So let's go back to the properties, and let's say I want to create a table in here. So I'm going to go back to the grid, and I want to use here centimeters. So I need to go to the units and set centimeters right here. And so back to the grid, you can see now it's asking me if I want to change and resize by changing the units, or if I want to change the unit system and maintain the object size. So that's definitely the thing we want to do when we are changing the grid settings to work with the grid in a more effective way. So now we're going to use a grid with a spacing of 1 centimeter. Let's make this 10, and the major lines let's do 5, and the snap spacing we're going to do 10. So again, this is all to speed up your work, and again, it's asking me for that change. Remember always to choose this one here, otherwise you're gonna resize things and it's not gonna be good. And so you can see also the annotation here. Now they look way smaller, but we're gonna talk about that later. And the grid has changed the size. Also, it was asking me about the record history, which is another important feature I'm gonna explain later on in the video. So right now I have this different grid, which I can use for creating like a table. Let's assume like every space on my table occupies like 50 times 50. So I can use a polyline, and again, just like modular design, I'm gonna activate the grid snap, and I'm gonna create here a table. Now, another thing I've done in here is creating layers. Layers are pretty important for organizing and managing, and they can be really helpful to distinguish things, and also not here visually in the screen, but also when you print in the 2D sheets your work. So let's go in the layers panel, which is right here. And you can see here this purple one is for furniture, but you can create as many layers as you want. I think it's really important to distinguish your various pieces in your work a lot. So create a lot of layers. Layers can be used to assign materials, so they are pretty handy when you distinguish things by their material. They can be used also to distinguish, for example, the walls, which are right here from the furnishing. And also they're handy because you can turn on and off only parts of the drawing, and so you can concentrate on something else. And again, they can be useful also in the printing part. So let's create a new layer, or you can use the ones that you find in here. So I'm gonna use like I'm gonna create a new one. To create a new one, I'm gonna click up here, new layer, and I'm gonna type like wooden furniture, okay? Just to be more specific, you can be really specific with layers. And here I can assign a color. I'm gonna make this like a brown color. And then to make this the current layer, I double click and check if the check mark is right here. So that's now the current, meaning that whatever I do here is going to go in the wooden furniture layer. So let's go in this area, and I'm gonna use the polyline now, and when I draw, I know that this is 50 centimeters, so it's half meter, and then this is 1 meter. So let's say I want to do a table for 8 people. Probably I need to use at least 2 meters here, and then probably if I want to be comfortable, 1 meter here. So this is going to be 2 meter times 1 meter. Now, if I want to discover an area or of something I created, all the analysis tools are right here. So here we'll find the measurements and the analysis of every thing you can create. So like curves or also areas or centroids. Here you can expand and have more tools. So you have a lot of stuff going on in here. And also if you go here in the menu, analyze on the top, here you can analyze again curves or surfaces, etc., etc. Length, if you want to know a length, a radius, or something curvy. And then going down, we have edges and other stuff. Now in the mass properties, we find the area and the volume if you have a 3D, but right now we're still working with 2D. So I'm going to go to area, and there you go. That's my area right there. Now this is an area which is in a square centimeters. So usually it's better when you want to discover like a space in meters. So if I want to know how big is this interior here, this is like an apartment with a strange shape. So also if I type area directly in the command bar, which is quicker, it's telling me that this is 165 square centimeters, but it's 165 square meters. Okay, so we need to change that later to see it better and to see it square meters instead of square centimeters. You need to change the units. Okay, now what about the chair? Well, usually the chair could be like something, we can create a rectangle like 50 times 50. Now this is of course like a really simplified representation of what a table with chair could be, but we can add the details later, just like we did with the kitchen. Now at the beginning when you're working, let's move this, you want to use blocks, simple blocks that can help you understand how much space you have in one area, if you want to put this like horizontal or vertical, and do I have enough space for the living room, do I have enough space for the kitchen, etc., etc. So it's just for creating a draft, a quick representation. Okay, I think I want to rotate this, so I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to rotate it from here, and you can see I'm selecting every object part of this table and chair system. Now I can mirror this, so if I select this tree, I can use the mirror, and there you go. I want to copy, yes, and I want to use the midpoint here or this line to make the mirroring. Okay, and so this is just one way we can do it. Also, when you create polylines like this, you can select that point. So if you click once, you will select the polyline. If you click directly on the point a second time, you can edit the points, you can stretch the table. So this is going to be now a 2 meters and 10 centimeters table. It's just to show you how you can quickly change the grid. So let's go back, and now in the preferences, in the properties, let's change this back into meters so we can work more with architecture and bigger spaces. So this is going to be meter, and in the grid, and of course always go for the same setting that we did before. Grid line counts, doesn't matter. Minor line grid spacing. Now here I want to see like 1 meter. Okay, so I want to see each one line, each 1 meter. But for the snap, I either use 1 meter or 0.1, which means that it's going to snap to 10 centimeters, and that's going to be handy. Major lines every Well, let's say 5 meter is fine. And say OK. And again, change unit system and maintain object size. You don't want to resize. You just want to change the units and the grid spacing. And now we can see the annotations are back there. They're visible because before they were too small. Because annotation, they have other settings and you need to define them. And we're going to see that later on. Okay, now I think I want to move this a little bit. So move into like here, so it's kind of more in the middle. But make sure you always have the passage to go all around your house, and you don't have like objects blocking you for moving around. So also you find the move tool in here. This is the move tool. Okay, so if I move, you can see that if I zoom in, it's snapping each 10 centimeters. So yeah, I can always, I don't have to use the grid every time. This is just for helping me. It's just a reference. Okay, I think I will make this a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna take these two and copy them using this as a reference and moving down. So you can see again, I'm snapping, so it can be easier. Or I can also do like this. So if I copy, I can take this point as a reference. So I maintain the spacing between the chairs. But I think now they're too much. So I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna just push this down until it gets like around here, or maybe I can put other 10 centimeters here and 10 centimeters here, assuming that you want to do like symmetrical stuff. Okay, so it's a bigger table with more chair. Now, if I want to go back to walls or something, I created already a layer here, which is called walls in Italian, but I'm going to change it right away. So walls is black, so it's pretty visible. I can understand already where the walls in there. So I created this design just on the fly, and let me show you how you can do it. So if I start from the kitchen, I can draw all around like this and using the meters. Okay, so if I delete this and I will try to do it again. So if I, again, use the polyline, I'm gonna start with this corner because I know the kitchen will go there. And I know that every time I snap to the major line of the grid, that's gonna be 5 meters. So here is gonna be 5 meter. So if I click here, that's gonna be 5 meter. And then here, that's gonna be another 5 meter. And then here, that's gonna be another 5 meter. And also here. So you can see why the grid is important. It's going to help me to work quicker. And I want to create like a H house shape in a way. So that's what I went for. So with the grid, again, I can be really quick to define this H shape. And every time I reach corner, that's going to be 5 meters. Now I need to close. So I either click there to close or I say close. And that's the close polyline. Again, what's the area of this? Just type area. And sorry, area. Okay. And there you go. It's 175 square meters. So now we know perfectly what's that size. Now, another thing we do here is I can modify. You saw some walls that weren't like straight. So I went like this and I created something like more deconstructivist, like with oblique lines. Well, you can do that or not. It's your choice, but let's assume I want to do this, okay? Well, I don't know if this is going to be the final shape, but let's say that, okay, I want that. Okay, you can do it like this. You can just push these points, create something else. Be careful not to push everything, otherwise it will move everything. Okay, so let's say this is the shape I want. Now I can do the walls because this is not the walls yet. This is just the internal line of the walls. So with the offset tool, which we find in the curve tools here, so there's the offset curve, or you can find it in here. These are the tools for the curves. So I have offset curves, and now I need to choose the side where I want to offset. You can see I can go inside or outside. But if you see here, if I go inside, it's gonna override or like overlap the kitchen. So I'm gonna go outside. And how much? Well, usually the distance of or the thickness of an exterior wall is 0.3 as I set up right here. But let's say I want to change this into something bigger. So I just type here, click on the distance and type 0. Let's say 35. So it's going to be a little bit bigger and press enter. Now you can see that that's going to be bigger. And if I need to do interior walls, it will be like 0.1, so 10 centimeters. So it will be a smaller wall. But right now, let's do 0.3, okay? And then click outside to finish the command. So now you can see I have an offset. So this is how walls are represented in plan views, usually when you have a thickness. And also, let's now see why record history is important. Let's assume now that I changed my mind about this wall and I want to make it like straight again, or let's see, I want to do this another way. I want to push this up like right here. Okay. So what happens is then I need to also move this other one, and it could give me problem, as you can see. But if I delete again the external line, and before creating that external line, I go here and do record history down here at the bottom, and again I offset this. So curve tools, offset, select, choose a side, and click. So now if I move this point back up right here, you can see that the offset is following. Well, that's thanks to the record history. Be careful not to move everything. I want to move this down more like this. Okay. And now you can see that everything follows. So that's why record history is important, to change automatically also the results that came from an original source like this. Now, before we move on, I want to show you a little bit here in Google some plan views of apartments or houses that you can find just by searching Google. Now, if you study architecture, you probably know all of this, but I'm gonna explain a little bit on when we learn how to draw things, also a little bit about architecture and interior design. But if you don't know anything, what I suggest is, just go there, search for other plan views and see how they're done, how they are drawn, and you can just, take inspiration, copy from them, and make things in a similar way. For example, here there is an image here, which is really like minimalist, which is really nice. And also another one that I saw that also could be helpful for you to learn, if you never did this, how to use a paper. So they usually sell paper that have like a grid, and they usually have a 1 centimeter grid. Now, if you consider 1 centimeter to be 1 meter, that's going to be a scale 1 to 100, which is a really popular scale when you do like the first, drawing of an apartment or a building with not too many details. And you can see our doors are represented, our windows are represented, our stairs are represented, etc., etc. And you may want to do this also yourself if you want to do 2D technical drawings. And again, also understand the spaces, and if you have enough space to put a kitchen or a living room or a bedroom, etc., etc. So you can use on paper this, and you can sketch it, you can import it as an image, or this one here also, you see that was the one that I was showing you before, is from Wikipedia or Wikimedia, and you can see it's pretty linear. So we have an entrance here. Actually, we don't have any windows, so that's quite strange. Could be like underground or something. And this could be like an internal garden, I don't know, but we can see doors, we can see furniture, and you can see that really simple representation of this, like we are doing more or less in our work. And this is another one that I saw that has like oblique lines. So architecture is not supposed to be always linear, also can contain curved walls, curved geometry and also like oblique lines, not always like horizontal and vertical. So I've chosen to get this one here. You can, just right click and save the image in and well, that's the PNG, but or you can save it, with any method. It's just, an example to show you that you have two options. You can just create from scratch and work on a grid of 1 meter and define all the spaces or the areas of your apartment, of your building, or whatever design you're creating, like jewelry design works the same, just a smaller scale, or anything. Or you can use a reference image, which can help you a lot. So how do you put a reference image in? Well, if you go in the surface tools tab, we have here this add a picture plane. So we can also look for here in the command. Let's look for picture, and no, let's, instead of doing this, we can go to add picture, or yeah, I think picture is fine as well. So you can see it's asking me where to get the picture. I'm gonna get this one here that I downloaded and saved into a specific folder called ref in my project folder. Okay, so I need to click now and put the image inside. But well, I don't know the size. I can just guess that it's, approximately, well, let's say it could be like this, okay? But this is never going to be precise. To make it precise, we need to use something specific, which is scaling or resizing. And we cannot do that using the units or anything that is in the properties, because this is something concerning the image itself. So what we're going to do, if we go back to the standard tools, is go and use the scale. So we saw the move, we saw the rotation, we also have scale down here, and especially we have scale 2D, because this is a 2D. We don't need 3D scale for this. And I need to go and zoom in a lot. And let's look at the options up here. So it's asking us for a base point, or enter if we want to do this automatic, which is probably going to go in the center. And well, in the center, we don't have anything that can be used as a reference. So I'm going to choose like this corner here. And be careful because it's snapping to the grid right now, and we don't want that. So let's go down here and uncheck, turn off the grid snap. And now, well, you can see this is made of pixels, it's not vectors. So it's going to be always unprecise, not precise as a CAD drawing that we can do in here. So also, this technique is called like tracing or vectorizing, because we're going to take a pixel image and we're going to convert it into vectors, or CAD lines, etc., etc. So you need to be more accurate as you can. So I'm going to click here in the center of those pixels, and then it's asking us for scale factor, or the first reference point. Now, since we don't know which scale is this, we cannot put a precise scale factor, like, scale this twice or 10 times, etc., etc. So we need to indicate, we need to say, okay, from this point to the reference point, which will be this for the wall. So we are getting the wall as a reference. So this line should be 0.3 and press enter. So now we rescaled the entire picture, but taking that wall as a reference, assuming that this is 30 centimeters. We don't really know because we don't have any measures in this drawing. So we can assume that a door is like 90 entrance door, or a toilet door should be 80, or let's say the internal walls usually are 10 centimeters, or external walls 30 centimeters. So we can only assume, and also the bed usually is like 180 centimeters times 160. But again, you need to make more measurements and make sure that you have this on a right size. And to make sure, we can do some measurements. Now, if you have a line here, it's really easy to measure, because if I have a line like this, okay, right click to confirm. So if I have a line, I just go in the properties of that line and go to details, and it's going to tell me, okay, this is 4 meters 18 centimeters. Okay, so I can find this, or I can use the length analysis. So I can go to analyze length, and this is going to tell me right here. But what if I need to measure a picture? Well, in that case, I can use the annotations, which are these, I put in red, in a red layer. So first of all, I'm going to choose my annotation layer, which is the red, and I'm going to give it a name so you can understand. So let's call this annote, okay? And here I want to create a new annotation. Where do I find the annotations? Everything of talking about this is in the drafting, because this is meant to be for 2D printing and 2D representation. So these are the various dimensioning I can use, or annotations. I'm going to go for the linear dimension, and I will go here and take a measure. So let's measure, for example, this is a kitchen here probably. So I'm going to measure like from this point to this point, some 2 clicks, and there you go. And it's telling me that it's 0,33. Well, I don't know if this is correct, because usually kitchen is 0.6. So I can resize everything again based on the kitchen. You need to have something to take as a reference if you don't have any other indication or dimension or annotation in there. So let's assume that that's the correct one. So I'm going to go here and back to the resize, scale 2D, right click for scale 2D. So from here to here, it will be, there you go, you can see it's going to be 0.6. Okay, so now I resize everything based on that kitchen measure. Okay, and when you have two things overlapping, you need to select the one you want to select. So in this case, I want to just modify this linear dimension. I want to make it a little bit bigger. So now it's 0.6 meters. Okay. And so the first time you create dimensioning or annotation, they're not going to be like this. You need to define a design style for the dimension. So if let me just go back here and select this, which is the one I just created. Okay, this is a style that I have created myself, and these are the ones that you usually find, which are pretty big, like this one here, or this one here, or this one here. These were already in RHINO, but they were all too big. So I needed to do something customized. And how do I do that? Well, the quicker way is just to select like a linear dimension and just change it here in the properties panel. So like the height, etc., etc. So you can see now it got bigger, and then you can change the text font and all this stuff. Otherwise, you need to go to edit a style, which is longer but more accurate and definitive. So also another thing you can do is to match another dimension. So if I select this linear dimension right here, and I say here match, I can click on another one, and that's gonna match that other one. So that's another way you can do it. But again, it's better to define one yourself. So you can find this in the drafting, and these are the dimensioning right here. And then down here, you can set the current annotation style, or you can edit an annotation style. So if I go to edit, you can see we're back in the document properties, annotation styles, and these are the ones available to us. Right now, this is the current here in bold. So if I want to create a new one, I'm going to go here and say new. And I'm going to call this, let's say, arc dim. Okay, so this will be for architecture, so it's going to use centimeters, meters, etc. So we can copy the settings from an existing one, and we can modify it. And there are also like templates here to use, so you can start from one of these. Okay, let's start like with this, which is not really what we want to do. It's just centimeters. So let's do arc dim and say okay. And now we can select this as the current, and we can edit. And we start. So first of all, the model space scale. So if it's too big, we can make it smaller. If it's too small, we can make it bigger from here. And this is the resulting text height. And then we have the font. We can change the font, we can change the height of the text gap, and how the text is visualized, how is aligned, etc. In the dimensions, this is all the things we can move. Sorry, we can visualize. Also the decimal separator, arrows, if you want to see arrows, or if you want to see like ticks and how big those are going to be. So again, you can change the size. And the leader, if you're creating leader, we have an arrow. And then here the units. If you want to display in centimeters, you can choose centimeters. If you want to see meters, you need to choose meters, decimal. And also here how much you want to see. So in meters, you cannot only see meters, because that's going to be rounded off too much. So I've chosen 0.01, so I can also see the centimeters in the dimensioning. And then I put a suffix here, m, which stands for meters. And you can continue here to set up all the other things. This is just a quick demonstration. So now if I go here and create another, let's say here I want to create another dimensioning. So I'm going to go drafting, linear dimension. Let's measure like this distance. Okay, you can see it's too big. So if I select it, this is my arc dim right now, which is the current one. So instead of modifying in here, which is only going to modify this single one, I'm just going to go back to drafting and go into edit annotation styles and select the one I want, edit, and now I can change it from here. So the text is too big, so I'm gonna make it like 1 and say apply, so I can see how it looks in there. And it still is too big, so let's make it 0.5 for the text. Okay, now it could be okay. And then I can continue again to edit all the rest. For example, here the arrow size, I want to make this smaller, let's say 0.3, apply, etc., etc. And now it looks better. Now I can also take this and like put it, move the text, put it somewhere else, or put the dimension here somewhere else. And this broke an history, meaning that it's not gonna have a relation with something that was previous, or a reference that was previously there. Okay, this will be all for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe to the channel to stay updated, and also join the channel to support us. Check out the video courses, and see you in the next